Welcome to On the Move, a business record effort that aims to help you hear directly from new leaders who are shaping Iowa's business community. I'm your host, Chris Conetzkey, president and group publisher of the Business Record. We've got a fantastic leader here with us today, Trina Flack. She's a 17-year veteran of Catch Des Moines. She's played a pivotal role in the organization's success, and she assumed the role of president and CEO back in August. Welcome, Trina.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, we'll go ahead and start off. For people that don't know the mission of Catch Des Moines, talk a little bit about that, give us a little soundbite, and then maybe you took on this role about 6 months ago. Maybe what are some of the things that you've been trying to do to shape that mission over the past 6 months?
Yeah, so Catch Des Moines is the Convention and Visitors Bureau for the region. So we represent 15 municipalities in the greater Des Moines area, and our whole goal is to increase visitors. So we're the ones responsible for bringing new meetings, events, sporting groups, and leisure travelers to the metro. So it's a role that, you've said I've been at Catch forever, and so it's a passion to host all the cool things and maybe the smaller things too, but shifting into this role out of a sales role, which is, I've done sales since I started at Catch, but really working to keep the team together, to get the community to continue to understand the importance of meetings and events on our viability and vibrancy, and what's the next big thing. It's looking at all those.
We have a lot of events that come to this community, and I think it can become easy to take that for granted. Talk a little bit about the impact that has on the community and why that's so important.
Yeah, Catch has a long history of working to bring events, and really none of that happens just as Catch Des Moines. That takes all of the communities working as a region. A visitor doesn't know whether they're in Des Moines or West Des Moines or what those boundaries are. So even going back to the start of Catch and 2080 agreements and this community making a decision that we're going to work together as one to secure those events. And there's many of these. There's hundreds of events that happen in individual cities each year, but things like a national speech and debate tournament, a national senior games, an NCAA men's basketball, any of those don't happen without the community working together and truly saying, we're going to make this happen. Let's find a way to yes. Let's all work together.
Talk a little bit about maybe a challenge that you've been trying to navigate through now that you're in the role.
It's all a challenge and not a challenge at the same time, right? It's the learning the things that you don't know. It's the assuming responsibilities that you've never had to deal with before. Greg Edwards was a 25-year CEO at Catch, so that's really all the community knew. That's all the staff knew. So it's just everything that changes within a leadership transition and learning all the pieces. It's also reestablishing ourselves in the community, not even reestablishing, I guess, but making sure that everyone knows that we're strong, that Catch Des Moines is still the leader, still working hard, still an organization that we can trust and that makes an impact here as we look forward.
Well, I know you mentioned the 28E agreements. I know there's a lot of pressure, not just for the CVB, but others. Funding, I think, is a challenge. Talk a little bit about that issue and how you're trying to navigate it.
Yeah, so a decision was made within the municipalities. Catch is governed by one 2080 agreement across the 15 municipalities. So in order for a change to be made, it has to be a unanimous change. Since really the beginning of time, we have received 2/7 of hotel motel tax. So every time someone stays in a hotel room, they pay a 7% occupancy tax. Catch has received 2% of that 7. In many communities, Bravo receives 2% of that, and then 3% stays with each individual community. With everything happening at the state level, revolving around property taxes, the caps put on the communities, there's a lot of hard conversations and a lot of tough decisions that are being made. And with that, Catch's funding was cut to 25%, which represents about $800,000 in this fiscal year. So $800,000 out of a $7 million budget is real money, and some tough decisions have to be made as part of that. So we're working hard on what gets cut, how we support events, what are sources for new revenue. That's my primary responsibility, is to keep the organization thriving, sustainable, competitive.
When you talk about some of those new funding options, what are some of the things out there that might be areas that you pursue?
Yeah, so every major city has a Convention and Visitors Bureau, and all Convention and Visitors Bureau and event funding looks different, right? So cities do it in different ways, whether that's hotel motel tax funding, whether that's destination marketing funds, which is kind of voluntary funds that happen at a hotel level that's between the businesses and the traveler, or tourism improvement districts. So as we look at this legislative session, one of the initiatives that we're working on at a state level are tourism improvement districts, and that's enabling legislation that allows communities throughout the state to create these districts. And it would be an assessment on hotel rooms. So that would be in addition to your hotel motel tax, and that is governed by those hotels on a board of directors and a plan written on, that goes to bid incentives, that could go to economic development, whatever. You have to show direct impact back to those hotels. So that's a way that would drive revenue that automatically is forced to put back into, reinvestment of visitors.
Is that something that's in other communities?
Yeah, so there's about 220 of these across the country.
Got it. Interesting. And that's a new initiative that you guys are looking at?
That's a new initiative. If the state can pass the enabling legislation, then we'll work at a community level to determine who participates, where those funds go, what that governance structure is, and it allows us to be competitive. It is the primary way that cities across the country are funding tourism initiatives.
This is always kind of a big question, but you're new in the role, and as you're thinking about, I'm sure the first period of time you're kind of getting your lay of the land. But as you think about the vision for Catch Des Moines, what maybe stretch that timeline out a little bit, 3-5 years. What does that kind of vision look like for you, and what you hope to see Catch Des Moines achieving?
I continue to see Catch Des Moines bringing major events and smaller events to the community. It is our region working together as one and pushing that envelope. We have been so good about fighting above our weight to secure new events. And something like NCAA men's basketball was that dream board event years ago. A Solheim Cup was a dream board event. Nobody ever really thought that these things could happen. And it's about people talking about them and finding a way to yes, and everything builds on the next event or the previous event, right? So I think about, we're about to bid on the next cycle of NCAA. We've got a bid in for National Speech and Debate. You think about some of those major events that take all of us working together and that are going to be something that our community is proud about, and then using those events to drive future economic development. So we've been so good about taking advantage of new assets coming online. The Iowa Event Center, when it was built, was because our community leaders said, this is important, and this is important to our community and the growth of our community. All the sports facility development has been huge for the business that we do. We've gone from 20% sports to almost 50% sports, and 50-50 with conventions and sports. So there's a lot to look forward to in that frame of mind too. You think about Icon Water Trails, you think about the expansion of the Mid-American Energy Recplex, you think about the soccer stadium and the Global Plaza. My dream would be that we have an entertainment district and an expansion of the Iowa Event Center. So I just want our community to keep thinking about those things, keep recognizing the importance of tourism and meetings on our economy, and just continue to believe that we can do more.
You mentioned the NCAA tournament and the Solheim Cup as dream board type ones. Do you have any of those dream board ones out there that like in the perfect world you could bring and attract to Des Moines?
Yeah, I think leveraging Drake Stadium, and I know there's a lot of conversation as we talk about, Drake Stadium needs a renovation, and that would put us back in line with a USA Track and Field outdoor championships or some of the NCAA track and field. The ability to host NCAA wrestling championships, which we hosted in 2013, would be a dream. The Principal Charity Classic and the Senior PGA Tour is amazing for our community, and I would never want to take away from that. Could we add a year of a PGA tournament? Could we bring back that Solheim? Destination Imagination is a student group that they currently meet in Kansas City. That would be amazing to host. Or an NAACP. We talked about that and did a few site visits years ago, and we just weren't a match for that, but never say never on those.
Well, that's the hit list then for the community.
Yeah.
Here. You got to send that one out and say, here's my dream list if you have the connections to help make some of those
and if
happen.
anybody
Right?
else has other dream events
Right.
that they want to add to our list, we're all ears. Let's go after it.
Well, I think we might be bringing the AABP conference
Yes.
here in a couple of
Yes,
years. So
let's do that again.
I'm not sure if that's on your dream list, but
course
it's
it is.
helpful for us. So when you talk a little bit about you stepping into the role and your leadership style, let's turn a little bit towards you. You mentioned it. Greg was in this community for a long time, 25 years. Shocker, you're not Greg, right? So talk a little bit about your leadership style and maybe how that, I don't want to say be different, but how are you going to be approaching your role?
Well, and you're right that Greg's been in this community forever and was an incredible leader and an incredible community member and everything that he has done. And I learned a lot through that. I mean, I had almost 18 years at Catch, and he was the CEO for that entire time until August. And he strongly emphasized family first, and I do still believe in that. So I think the two things that are really important to me is to lead with heart, and that is people first always. And that's our staff. That's putting our community ahead of a visitor. It's thinking about what's good across the board and why people are making the decisions of what they are. And secondarily, communicate well. And it's having the hard conversation. It's telling the whole story. It's being a good listener as part of that communication. It's continuing to tell the story and the importance of Catch and the impact that we make. So those would be a couple of things that are just like lead with heart, communicate well.
As you are kind of moving into this role, what are some of the things when you're in that role that also gives you opportunities to connect with other organizations? Are there some passions that you have outside of the CVB that you put your time and energy towards?
Yeah. So one of the things that is a good thing and a bad thing is I struggle to say no. And I'm sure you can relate to this as a leader in the community that it's like there's all sorts of opportunities to get involved. And I really think that's important for all of us to give back and really get ingrained in the community. And a couple of passions of mine, I serve on the track community. I serve on the track committee.
Were you a runner at one point? No, okay, just track is your thing.
But my son is a track kid, and so it's getting involved and giving back in that light. I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission for Ankeny because, sitting at the table and understanding the reasons for growth and what's important to each of our communities matters. And so I believe in giving back. And that's something that I push at our staff level too, is staff needs to be involved at a community level and at a professional level, because until you're, sitting around the table, understanding, learning from your peers and the people that live here, you're not truly going to understand, everyone's why or where they're coming from. So just a few things that are personally important to me.
Is there a community issue or priority that you think the community should be focusing on in some fashion?
That's a great question. Regionalism continues to be that hot topic, and Catch Des Moines is a regional organization, and I think about the 2080 agreements, and even going back to the partnership, event where they talked about we're really at this breaking point where we've got to decide how we're going to move forward. Are we going to continue to grow? Are we going to continue to work together? Are we going to kind of split apart? And there are so many success stories to us working together as a region, and also communities need to make some decisions on what's best for their budgets and their people. And so I think that's a really big decision that we have to, lean into and think about. And I would say regionalism is probably that biggest one.
Yeah, and that's a topic that, of course, touches so many different aspects. We did a power breakfast last year on the property tax and the effect that was having, mostly because we just wanted folks to understand that the pressures that the cities were experiencing, they're having to make tough decisions. But it is amazing when you think about the way that pressure then is filtering through and tough decisions, like you said. So when you think about that and tourism, that, like you said, people aren't in one community. They don't know when they're in Ankeny versus in Des Moines, vice versa. That's an interesting dynamic. So
it takes all of us, right, and working together. And National Senior Games is an event, and even NCAA are good examples of it doesn't happen without all of us working together, right? There are so many things that we can do as our individual cities and communities, but we're not going to be able to all come together and host major events if we're not finding that way to yes together. And that goes back to one of the things that I'm super proud of within the community, and I've even seen in this role, is the relationships, the communication. Nobody is making these hard decisions or choosing, something against another because they don't like you or they don't like your organization. It's just the pressures, back to the power breakfast, the pressures that our communities are facing and our leaders are facing, and how to prioritize what is just a challenge.
What's maybe one thing you want the business community to know, either about how you're wanting to operate, or that you think that they should really know about interacting with the CVB?
I think the business community should know that we're here and supportive and want to drive, people to their businesses in any way that we can. And I want them to understand how important the visitor is to whatever their business is. I think if COVID taught us anything, this community doesn't thrive on our locals alone. It really takes that visitor to, add to their business or support the community or to create the foot traffic and, put our city on a national level and on the map. And it's not only about, the week that somebody is here, or the couple of days that somebody is here, but the impact that it has on the jobs, right? That we're employing people in the industry, we're creating a level of business that are keeping their people employed, that it's that whole ecosystem that needs to play together.
All right, so we're gonna learn a little bit more about you here. So this is the rapid fire as we go, because we think that's important, that people know how to connect with you. And so what's maybe one thing we'd find you doing in your free time?
Oh, I'm a huge cycling fan, so
good
even
choice.
though that
I'm not supposed
we've
to. I'm
got
supposed
our
to be
ups
unbiased.
and downs, but yeah, I think attending cycling games or watching cycling games is a passion too.
Well, I'll probably see you up there. What's a pet peeve of yours in business?
Oh gosh, Greg would not like me to say this, but the 8 to 5, the punching a clock. I really feel like our leaders we need to trust our people to find that balance and work when it makes sense and where it makes sense for them.
It's Greg, the 8 to 5 type.
Yeah. An old Marriott guy that really believed that if you were not in your seat, you're not working. And I am like the polar opposite of that.
Understood. I got used to working on my patio in the mornings, and that's how I like to start my day. So that is
very
what I do.
productive,
yes, absolutely.
too.
When you play music at home, what's something you're listening to?
Oh, I'm strong into country.
Okay.
So Luke Combs, Kelsey Ballerini, Megan Maroney.
Okay. All right. Favorite movie or TV show?
Oh, I don't get to control any of the TVs in my house. There's too many
it's
people
K-pop
that live
Demon
there.
Hunters in our house all day long right now. So.
Whatever sporting event is on or anything. But I'm a local news girl. That's about the only time that nobody's awake to see the news.
What's a favorite food? You get one meal, right?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. A specific type, choice?
Probably chocolate, but ice cream. Okay. Anything.
We'll keep that in mind to make sure to send you some ice cream from time to time. A business book that maybe either you're reading or one that's made an impact on you recently?
The one that I'm reading right now is called Traction, and it was a recommendation of Tom Keating, who's the head of the Iowa High School Athletic Association, and it's all about, managing a meeting or handling a conversation.
I read that last year, or another Rowena Crosby recommendation.
That's good.
The EOS system. And so we've implemented some of those things this year, and our team is tired of hearing about rocks. So you'll enjoy it. I
believe that.
All right, favorite restaurant or food? I might be putting you on the spot here. I bet you can't pick a favorite
restaurant.
All restaurants. You love all your restaurants and all the
Yeah.
hotels here in Des Moines. But maybe if you had to grab a bite here in Des Moines, what would you might recommend?
Chentro is a fave.
Perfect. And you already said Cyclones. That's usually the last one I try to give people, Cyclones or Hawkeyes. You're a Cyclones fan, which makes you a good person, obviously.
Yeah, same.
The last thing I always ask, anything we didn't talk about that you feel like the business community should know about?
That's a great question. I think we covered the majority of it, but no, I think more than anything in this transition, I'm super grateful for all the leaders in this business community that have taken, their position as, they've been in their role for a long time, or even they're a semi-recent leader, and the amount of people that have reached out and just said, congratulations, or how can I help? And I think that's just something that says a whole lot about the community that we are and the leaders that we have in this community. And it gives me this sense of pride that we are going to be okay. And 20 years from now, and our new leaders coming in, and I hope that we can continue that. And I'm just grateful.
Well, thanks for joining us for On the Move. I'm so grateful to have so many fantastic new leaders in the community. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this. And I'm glad to have gotten the chance to get to know you a little bit better today as well. We know one of the secrets to this community's success is the way we connect on a personal level with each other. So do me a favor, if you're watching this, as Trina's on the move and finding her way through the community, make sure to lend her an extra hand. And as she works to help shape the community and the attractions that we have the privilege of getting to enjoy in this community. Thanks again for watching. I'm Chris Conetzkey, president at Business Record. I'll see you next time for On the Move.